All right, I'm going to start to share my screen. Guys, I have to say, I'm planning on doing a plot diagram with you today, but I was telling the kids in the room that had great technical difficulty yesterday getting it to post in the normal fashion. And I am not sure that it posted in the normal fashion. So who knows what's going to happen in the next 5 minutes. Okay, so what I need you to do is I need you to, you're going to need to see my screen, hopefully, if I'm going to be able to type on things. And you're going to need a couple of other things open. So go to classwork on your screen. Go to Dragon. Open up your copy of the plot diagram. And then also open up the text, which I need to open up myself. And when you open the text, open it in Cami, please. And I will open up my copies. I don't know. The problem that I think that I'm having is when I type on my copy, it types on everybody's copy and changes everything. So hopefully that's not going to happen, but I'm not sure. So we'll see in a few moments. You need to open up Dragon the text, and you need to open up the plot diagram in Dragon. Okay, so just to review, you need Dragon open, and then you need the plot diagram open. And you also need to see my screen. And let me see if I can zoom in here. And there is a way for you guys to zoom in on your computer on my screen. I think there's either a magnifying glass or there's 3 dots that can help you zoom in and out. Anybody need another minute to get all that loaded up? So nobody's saying they need another minute, so I'm assuming we're ready to roll. Yes? Okay. You ready? Okay, so let's just review the plot diagram. So the main part of the plot diagram is the big black line. And the beginning of it on the left, the flat line where the story begins, is known as the... You don't have to look in the air. You can look on your copy of the plot diagram because it's written there. It's known as the...
Can't find the plot diagram.
Okay, so when I said, do you need another few minutes? Nobody said anything, so that's...
Yes, I did. I said yes.
I didn't hear you, honey. Okay, so you need another minute. So go to classroom, go to classwork, go to Dragon. Plot diagram should be posted there, and you should have your own copy.
I got it now.
Okay, so does anybody remember what this part of the plot diagram is called? There's a couple of things, but there's one written here right underneath it in the green box. What's that word that we call the beginning of the story?
Setting.
Didn't understand you.
Exposition.
Exposition, thank you. Whom was that? Alex, was that you? So the exposition or the initiating conflict, right? That's that part. And then when we climb up the mountain, it's called the rising action, right? So the events that lead up to the mountaintop.
Yeah. Which is called the climax.
Climax. What's another way to know this one? I gave you a couple other ones last week. What's the 21st century way?
Oh my God.
OMG. Okay, so here, I'm going to try to type this and see what happens on your screen. You tell me. Did anything happen on your screen? Oh, good. So type in OMG there like my screen. Does anybody remember what the other way to remember the climax is? Where the story like changes direction at this point? Does anybody remember what we called that last week? Okay, so let's put it down again. It's called the turning point. I got all caps happening here. Why? I don't know. Okay, so there's 3 ways to remember the climax, the turning point. And the reason why, look at the diagram itself, right? It turns. The point turns the direction of the story, yes? Okay. And then coming down the mountainside, it's not the rising action, but it is the falling action.
Falling action.
Right? And it leads to the
Resolution.
what? What's a way of remembering what resolution means? I gave you a trick last week. Look at the word resolution.
Solution.
Girls, I don't know why you're playing with your mouse still, because we're just reviewing a plot diagram. So what are you doing? Hey, Heather, what are you doing?
I was trying to get this one.
You were what?
I was trying to get this one.
Okay. So guys, could you all do me a favor? Like, this is really hard to make, to know if everybody is ready. So when I ask the question, does anybody need a few minutes? Like, tell me if you need a few minutes to get yourself set, because that's why I asked the question. Okay? Because otherwise I think like Haley right now is still playing with her mouse and I have no idea why, because we're just reviewing the plot diagram. What are you doing? Are you trying to set your screen up too? So what are you doing? Okay, so again, when Mrs. Jost says, does anybody need another minute to set themselves up? Tell me then, and I'll give you a couple minutes then, because right now we're kind of reviewing stuff and we have to stop because I don't know what you're doing. Okay, so I heard somebody say that resolution means the solution. It's the solution to the initiating problem, right? Okay, so let's just fill in a couple of things. So the name of the story is up in the top left-hand, Dragon. So
Dragon.
right, quotation marks, capital D on each of the dragon words, dragon. And our author is, whoops, John Gardner. So I think this story, it's easier to figure out who the antagonist is, like who's the bad guy in the story?
The dragon.
The dragon. And who's the protagonist? The good guy.
The youngest sibling.
Yeah, the youngest son. Yeah. Look on my copy, John Gardner. I wrote it already. Youngest son versus the dragon. You could also say, I'm going to put youngest son, and then under the youngest son in parentheses, I'm going to put the kingdom, because it's really the kingdom that's having the problem with the dragon, yeah? But that's not a character. So guys, we need to get through this plot diagram today, so we need to like keep up. Okay. What is the main conflict in the story? Like, what's the initiating conflict? What's the problem at the beginning of the story? What's the exposition? Caden, you remember what the big problem is in the beginning of the story? Oh, you didn't read the story either. That's too bad, because it's really hard to do your work when you don't read the story. So maybe lunchtime you could read the story. Okay, buddy? Haley?
The dragon came and like they came a little bit, so it's like a little conflict. And I like stopped the dragon from doing it, trying to get him.
Right. So the kingdom needs to figure out how to stop the dragon, right? Okay. So we'll just write kingdom is being, and we'll use the word in the story, plagued by the dragon. What is the setting of the story? I just wanted to get that down. So
The kingdom or the dragon's cave?
the kingdom, which is part of the dragon. What's the situation? The dragon's annoying people. Dragon is troublesome. Main characters are,
The cobbler's sons.
okay, cobbler's sons. I'm gonna say
And the
Topper
dragon?
and his sons. Who else?
The king,
The king. Who else?
the dragon.
The dragon. Okay. Like the queen and the princess, they're sort of secondary characters. The wizard too is sort of a secondary character. He's not really a main character. We're gonna leave the climate. Well, no, I think we could figure out the climate and mood. I kept telling you, well, not in this class so much, but what was the mood of this story? Was it dramatic? Was it?
Fairy tale?
Yeah.
It's a fairy tale, but that's not the mood. That's the genre. What's the mood? I don't think it was that dramatic. A little dramatic. But what did I keep telling you needed to do when I stopped? What did the dragon do at the end? What was the dragon's downfall?
Because he said the one poem.
What did the dragon do that enabled his youngest son to like slice his head off? What was he doing?
Laughed so hard that he fell.
Yes. So what's the mood of this story? Comedy. It's a little
Funny.
silly, funny, lighthearted, right? It was not a serious story. So we could just say lighthearted. Good. Okay, so we've got the exposition filled in. Does anybody remember what I said is an easy way to fill in plot diagrams? What should you do first on the diagram itself? Did anybody pay attention to anything last week?
What's your name?
Yeah.
Put your name. You don't even need your name on here. You know why? Because your name's on the document. I'm talking about the plot diagram, guys. The black line. What points should we fill in first? What did I have you do when we did the one on the tail?
The climax.
Yeah, I had you fill in the 3 key points, the exposition, the climax, and the resolution, right? So what was the turning point of the story? When did the story turn in a different direction? What happened that made the story come to a resolution? What was the event? Because remember, this is a plot diagram. We're diagramming the events.
The second brother gets swallowed, or the first brother gets swallowed.
That made the story turn. What happened to make the story turn in a different direction? What was the big event that happened where you went, oh,
The youngest sibling listened to his dad.
okay. And because he listened, what happened?
He knocked the dragon down. He killed the dragon.
The dragon is slain. The dragon dies. Oh, OMG. Okay. Dragon. Spell dragon right, Miss Jost. Is slain. I'll put dies in parentheses in case we don't know what that word means. It's okay. All right. And then what's the resolution? What's the solution to the problem? Is the kingdom plagued anymore by the dragon after he's dead?
No.
Okay, so what's the solution? What's the kingdom like at the end of the story?
Better. Back to normal.
Well, give me a little more.
The queen gets back to her regular self.
Okay. Really? The youngest son marries the princess and gets half the kingdom, right? Okay. And the kingdom is at peace. The kingdom is better. You're right. So let's fill that in for the resolution. So the kingdom is at peace. Youngest son. I always think it's weird how none of the sons have names in the story. Youngest son marries. We infer that he marries her, the princess, and gets half the kingdom. Okay, so now we're just going to fill in the rising action, and we're going to think of the key events that happen that move the plot along from the kingdom being plagued by the dragon to when the dragon gets slain. So think about the story. Does that, I know what we're gonna do. I'm gonna give you guys 5 minutes to go back and skim the story before we do the rest. Does that make sense? Okay, so let's do that. I'm gonna pause my screen here, pause my video. And I'm gonna give you, okay, so hopefully that will help, like, refresh our brains. Did that help people to remember what happened in the story a little bit? Hello? Nod if you're alive. Did that help you? That didn't help you, Kira? No? Oh, okay. All right, so let's go back to here. So let's think about, and we're looking for key events that happen between, the kingdom being plagued by the dragon and how that leads to the dragon being slayed. So what's the first big thing that happens in the story? Haley, you gotta turn your mic on.
The dragon comes and attacks the kingdom, and then the king has to figure out what to do.
Well, okay, sorry. Okay, we kind of already know that I think the story opens with the fact that the dragon has been plaguing the kingdom and the king has to decide what to do. So what does the king do? What's his first step that he does in order to get this dragon slain? What's he do? Anybody
He
else?
sends the oldest sibling out after asking the cobbler.
Well, it's not that he doesn't just go to the cobbler. What does the king do?
He asks everybody, who wants to slay my dragon?
So he calls a meeting of the kingdom. He calls everybody in the kingdom together to have a meeting. So that's the first big thing. So that's going to be our first thing in the first rising action box. The king calls a meeting about the dragon. Okay, good. I don't know why there's a W in my next box. Okay, so the meeting is happening and the king offers the princess in marriage, and then what happens?
The oldest son takes the offer.
Well, before the oldest son gets the offer, what does his dad do?
His dad tries to bargain with the king.
Right, so the cobbler negotiates a better deal, right? And then the oldest son takes the challenge, right? So we can put that in one box. So the cobbler negotiates a better deal. The eldest son takes up the challenge. And before the eldest son and the second son, before they go off, what happens between the father and the son every time?
Every time the father kept saying, recite this poem, dragon, dragon. Yeah.
Okay, so we only have one box here, so we're gonna do A, B, and C in here because usually I have more boxes on mine, okay? So we're gonna do A. Father gives advice. I will fix that in a second. Then B, two older brothers, what happens to them?
Get swallowed.
The dragon.
They don't listen to the father.
Right, the two older brothers don't take the advice and die. Or we think they're dead. And what does the third son do?
Listens to the father.
Yeah, I think it's important that we note that he listens to the father, okay? So the third son listens to dad and recites the poem. Right? And then in the next box, the climax is when the dragon dies. Plug it in. What do you want from me? Honey, we are in the middle of a class. What would be the fastest way to get your Chromebook charged right now? The quickest way, what would you do? No, that's not the quickest way. There you go. Go to the back, sit at the desk and grab one of those chargers. Pick up everything you need and go. Okay, so then after the dragon is slain, everybody with me? You need another minute.
I need another
Okay,
minute.
all right.
Could you zoom in because I can't see something?
I am zoomed in as far as I can, I think, but I will check. Yeah, that's as far as it'll let me go, Alex.
Okay.
I don't know what to do about that. I know that there's a way for you to zoom in on your screen.
No, I
So it's either a magnifying glass or the three dots, and it gives you options to go zoom in more. You don't need to untangle it, just plug it in, hon. Move the desk back if you need to. Okay, so once you get that done, then let's think about what the next significant thing happens. Like over here, one of the rising actions is both the brothers are eaten by the dragon, right, or slain. So what happens like pretty much immediately after the dragon's head is cut off?
The two brothers come out of his stomach.
Yeah, so the brothers are rescued, right? So the two brothers are rescued. And what do they do with all the stuff that they found in the dragon's lair?
They bring it back to the kingdom.
Okay, and they take the treasure and the wizard's book back to the kingdom, right? And when they get back to the kingdom, the people are all what? Happy. So the people rejoice. Yeah.
Happy, excited.
Yep. People rejoice. Yay. Life is good again. I would like to break you into breakout rooms to discuss the theme, but by the time we break out, we're going to have to come back and that takes forever. So let's just think about what, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, I think, in this class. What are some possible themes or lessons to take from this? There's several of them. If you think about the story and what happens, Haley, what do you think? Turn your mic on.
Take advice.
Take advice.
Yeah.
Okay. Some people will tell you advice isn't worth anything, but maybe in this story, I think we could tweak that a little bit. Not take advice, but who should you listen to? The king that he listened to.
I know. Listen to people that you love and you can get good advice, maybe.
Okay, turn your mic on because that's really good feedback. Okay, Paige, what your hand is up, Paige. What do you want to say?
listen
Okay.
to your elders.
Listen to your elders, right? Okay, so let's see. We can that could be one. Listen to your elders. I like the one. Did we talk a little bit about the one where like the first two brothers, when the father gives them the advice, they think he's crazy, don't they? They think he's a little nutty. Like, what the heck are you talking about? Do
Yeah.
they say that to him?
No, they do
Okay,
not.
so what could possibly be a lesson that we could take away from that?
If you don't have something good to say, then don't say it.
Okay, Kiara, what were you gonna say? Yeah, don't be rude, because that would have been rude for them. It's like, Dad, you're crazy, right? And go back into father, right? So, Maddie, what are we doing? Huh? What are you getting? What do you need? But what do you need? You have your Chromebook. You have everything you need right there for class. Right? So why are you interrupting class again? What did you need? Please answer my question. What were you just looking for, honey? You don't know what you were just looking for, but you got up out of your chair, walked across the room and looked for something, but you don't know what it was. I find that hard to believe. Does anybody else find that hard to believe? I find that hard to believe. Straight answer would be really nice. Maybe you could tell me later. Okay, so yeah, I think getting back to the theme and back to class, I think that you're right. Like the two boys could have certainly been rude to their father and told him he was crazy and they thought he was crazy, but they didn't, right? They kept those thoughts to themselves, right? So maybe we could just simplify it as if you don't have something nice to say, keep it to yourself. Oh, there you go. That's another way to say it. So we could even add a third one. Good, Kara. Don't be rude to people who are trying to help you out. I don't think anybody in Zoom line heard you because you didn't have your mic on, but that's okay. Okay, so there's 3 possible lessons. There's probably more. What about the youngest son? Does the youngest son think that he is going to be able to kill the dragon?
No.
He is kind of confused, but he did.
Okay, so what could we say about that? Think about the oldest brother. The oldest brother was really smart and he tried to outwit the dragon. The middle brother was really strong and he tried to overpower the dragon.
Don't I knew the word too. Don't underestimate yourself.
There you go. Don't underestimate yourself. Good job. So from this silly little story that was very lighthearted, there's lots and lots and lots of lessons if you pay attention to the lessons, yeah? Okay, questions, problems, issues. Tomorrow we will be doing breakout rooms. We're going to be doing some multiple choice practice and going it over. And then Thursday and Friday, you have 10 multiple choice questions for this story. So if you're one of the people that did not make it to Zoom yesterday, or were not in class yesterday and didn't read the story, I'm not advising you. I'm telling you, you need to read the story today. And you can use the text to speech if you have to, or you could watch the video that I posted where I read the story. But anyway, guys in Zoom land, I need to go because that was the bell.
Bye.
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 Somebody have a question?
Yeah, are you gonna post this? Because I can't figure out a couple things.
I will post it later today, Alex, and it might not be exactly the same because I got to redo them for all of my classes, okay?
Okay,
But it'll be pretty close.
got it.
All right. Have a good day, bud.